Colonel Helmut Schmidt, head of logistics for the Wehrmacht Army Group Center, took a long, satisfying drag from his Turkish cigarette and surveyed his office with the benevolent gaze of a man who knew he had correctly interpreted the geopolitical mood. The air, thick with the scent of stale paper and impending administrative leisure, hummed with a profound, almost luxurious silence. It was, Schmidt mused, the quietest day of the entire war. He tapped a meticulous ash into a crystal dish, salvaged from a surprisingly well-stocked Polish manor house. Outside, the Belarusian summer was aggressively sunny, though occasionally punctuated by the distant, rhythmic thump, thump, thump of what was almost certainly friendly artillery doing scheduled training exercises. "Major Klouse," Schmidt called, not lifting his gaze from his meticulously organized desk, which featured only documents stamped in triplicate with the reassuring word, "Confirmed." Major Klouse, a man whose permanent expression suggested he was perpetually about to miss a train, appeared instantly, snapping a salute that threatened to dislodge his spectacles. "Colonel, sir, observe the data." Major Schmidt gestured vaguely towards a wall map, already yellowing at the edges, upon which the Soviet front line was marked with a reassuringly static red crayon. For months, the strategic calculus has been clear. The Ruski are focused on the south, the Balkans, the oil fields, the historical importance of pushing through the Ukraine. Everything points south. And what is our reward for this brilliant strategic assessment? Klouse swallowed, nervously smoothing a crease from his uniform sleeve. "A structurally sound administrative period, sir." "Precisely, Major. A temporary, administrative Aufenthalt. Field Marshal Model and the heavy hitters are all down. There, in Belarusia, we are managing a skeletal crew, focusing on optimizing efficiency. We are the quiet engine of the Wehrmacht. It is practically a summer holiday." Klouse looked pale. "If I may, Colonel, the quiet is unsettling. And the reports from the 53rd Corps at Vitebsk have increased in urgency regarding troop placement and a desire to consolidate their perimeter. They are requesting priority evacuation status for non-essential materiel," Sir Schmidt tutted, waving a dismissive hand. "The 53rd Corps, always complaining. Their logistics chief, what's his name? Mueller. A nervous Nelly, that man. They are positioned behind 2 kilometers of the finest anti-tank mines ever deployed. They have nothing to fear but paperwork. Besides, High Command has addressed this." Schmidt reached for a folder labeled Vitebsk Inappropriate Panic and produced a brightly colored, carbon-copied memo. Here we are. Note the stamp. Low priority. See attached holiday rota. It's a matter of staffing, Klouse. We simply cannot process major movements until the 2nd week of July. General Mueller needs to learn patience and adherence to the quarterly planning schedule. He filed the memo neatly back under V. Now, let us discuss actual logistical concerns, the real threats to our operational readiness. Schmidt leaned forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "The coffee, Major. We still do not have a viable replacement for the café machine." Klouse flinched. The matter of the stolen coffee machine had been the single most significant logistical crisis of the previous 3 weeks. "The Partisans, Colonel," Klouse mumbled. "We believe at the Red Birch Brigade. They didn't just take the standard issue percolator, sir. They took the new Italian precision grinder. The one with the brass fittings." Schmidt closed his eyes, momentarily overwhelmed by the depth of the enemy's audacity. "A brass-fitted grinder. Do you know what that says, Klouse? It says they are organized, yes. But more importantly, it says they are mocking us. It is an act of industrial espionage, masked as vandalism. We are engaged in total war, and the enemy is focused on depriving us of proper administrative beverages. We've recovered 24 sets of bicycle tires and some high-grade industrial wire this morning, sir. Klouse offered hopefully, but no sign of the grinder. Tires are easy to replace. Major Morel is not. A man cannot effectively draft a strategic fuel requisition form without properly caffeinated morale. Schmidt sighed, deciding the only viable response was paperwork. Draft a new directive. Title it, Urgent. Reprioritization of anti-partisan objectives. Special emphasis on high-value administrative apparatus. Market. Top secret. Immediate action required. We will show them that Army Group Center takes its interior decorations seriously. Later that afternoon, the calm only deepened. The silence from the Eastern Front had become so profound it was almost musical. Schmidt was reviewing the latest Soviet deception efforts, a subject he found endlessly fascinating. The Allies and Soviets were constantly playing games, hiding troop movements and making false reports. He found their methods rather crude, however. Hiding a tank under a tree. Pathetic. Real deception was about bureaucratic distraction. He sat back, reading a captured Soviet communications summary that detailed significant railway congestion and troop movement south of the Pripyat marshes. See Klouse. Irrefutable proof. They've moved nearly their entire operational reserve down toward Lvov and Sandomierz. Every man, every tank, every commander worth his salt is focused on that salient. They have swallowed our feint, hook, line, and sinker. Klouse pointed to a small, isolated paragraph near the bottom of the report. Colonel, what about this reference to Maskirovka on the Belarusian front? It mentions strategic withdrawal simulations during daylight hours. Schmidt scoffed, adjusting his monocle. Ah, Maskirovka. Literally, camouflage. It's a peasant term, Major. It means they're driving their trucks away during the day and driving the same trucks back at night. An amateurish attempt to convince us they are reducing strength. They think we are simpletons. We know they are weak here. Their supply lines are stretched, and their primary focus is clearly elsewhere. We can practically hear their generals shouting at each other in the Ukraine. He stood up and walked to the window, gazing out at the supply yard where several dozen trucks sat awaiting routine maintenance. This silence, Major, is not the silence of fear, but the silence of respect. They respect our extensive minefields. They respect our fortifications. Most importantly, they respect the strategic inevitability that they must break the South first. This quiet is a gift, a chance for us to finalize the Q3 supply manifests. Just as he was about to deliver a lengthy monologue on the beauty of a properly filled-out manifest, the telephone on his desk buzzed not the formal, deep ring of the main operations line, but the frantic, high-pitched chirp reserved for external field communications. Klouse answered, his knuckles white. Yes, this is Major Klouse, Army Group Center Logistics. Wait, who is this Lieutenant Colonel Geyer of the 9th Army Communications Detachment? Geyer, calm yourself. You sound like a kettle. What did you say about the marshland? Klouse held the receiver away from his ear, staring blankly at Schmidt. Colonel Geyer says the 9th Army attempted a small-scale, pre-approved redeployment of tanks to the southern flank as a defensive exercise, and half the vehicles broke down immediately in the swampy terrain near Bobruisk. He says they are currently embarrassingly little opposition. Those were his exact words. Sir Schmidt leaned over the desk, visibly annoyed. Well, naturally they broke down. Who authorized tactical exercises in marshland during administrative hours? That is precisely the kind of unprofessionalism we are attempting to eliminate. Note to self, Major. Draft a memo detailing the unsuitability of the Bobruisk marshlands for vehicle parking. Use bold font. Klouse hesitantly placed the phone back to his ear. Geyer. Yes. No, the colonel is busy, he says. Geyer. Are you weeping? What is happening in your sector? Klouse listened for a moment longer, his eyes widening to saucers. Geyer reports a sudden, massive increase in Polish and local partisan activity. They are not merely stealing goods, sir. They are attacking the rail lines with, quote, reckless disregard for the standard organizational charts. He says the partisans are behaving like a pre-screening force. Pre-screening for what? Major Schmidt huffed. A hostile takeover of the quartermaster's canteen? Tell him to organize a proper perimeter and stop exaggerating minor civil disturbances. This is Bielorussia, not Vienna. Disorder is expected. But even Schmidt felt a faint tremor of unease. The attacks were escalating too quickly, too comprehensively, all focusing on logistics and communication lines. It was as if someone had decided the quiet administrative period needed a violent, disruptive end. Tell Geyer to submit a full, itemized list of all materiel lost, Schmidt ordered. I need to know precisely how many railway ties they damaged. Proper accountability is key, Dawn. June 22nd, 1944. The sun rose on the 3rd anniversary of Operation Barbarossa, a date dripping, as the historians would later note. With heavy-handed irony, Colonel Schmidt, having meticulously filed his administrative paperwork until 0200 hours, was enjoying his final hour of officially sanctioned, quiet sleep. He was abruptly awakened by the terrifying, vibrating roar of sound that was not simply loud, but seismically present. It sounded as if the entire Earth had suddenly decided to relocate to another quadrant of the galaxy. He bolted upright. The window panes in his office rattled violently, and a framed photograph of Field Marshal Bush, who was, coincidentally, about to be fired for incompetence, fell off the wall and smashed on the floor. He heard Klouse screaming down the hallway. Colonel Schmidt! Colonel Schmidt! We have incoming fire! Massive, sustained saturation fire. Schmidt leaped out of his cot and rushed to his office, struggling into his tunic. He ignored the deafening roar, focusing instead on the shattered glass. Get the broom! That frame was perfectly aligned. We need to maintain standards.
Right away, sir.
Klouse burst through the door, his face streaked with sweat and grime, holding a mangled field telephone receiver. Sir, this is not a drill. The line to Vitebsk is gone. The northern front has evaporated. We have reports of massed infantry advance, preceded by a colossal, synchronized aerial bombardment. Schmidt stared at him, momentarily speechless. Infantry. From where did they cross the minefield? That is the question, sir. The 9th Corps, reporting from the outer perimeter, says they saw giant rolling pins, sir. Metal rollers on tanks. They are clearing the mines. They're not avoiding them. They're harvesting them. Schmidt staggered back, clutching his chest. Rolling pins, a ridiculous, utterly Soviet countermeasure that destroyed his central assumption of safety. His beautiful, well-documented, strategically vital minefield rendered obsolete by industrial-scale baking equipment. But the South, Klouse. The entire operational reserve is in the South. It's impossible. We were counting on the bulge. The bulge, sir? Klouse gasped, pointing a trembling finger toward the suddenly useless map of Bielorussia. Was a spectacular distraction. The Maskirovka. It wasn't just about hiding troops. It was about convincing us the idea of attacking the center was ridiculous. They were hiding 1.6 million men right under our noses, while we reinforced the wrong flank. The building shook again, harder this time. The rhythmic thump, thump, thump of friendly artillery had been replaced by the sound of 1,000 synchronized hammer blows, impacting exactly where the German lines used to be. The front was not bending, it was shattering. Schmidt's mind raced, desperately searching for a bureaucratic foothold in the chaos. The reports. Where are the proper invasion reports? I need the initial contact manifest, cross-referenced with anticipated defensive losses. We must account for every shell expended. Klouse was staring out the shattered window, his eyes glazed over in sheer terror. They are through, Colonel. The T-34s are advancing in multiple waves. Deep battle, sir. They are punching clean through our lines. The radio operator just relayed a final, coded message from the 53rd Corps at Vitebsk, before the signal died completely.
What do you mean?
Well, what did the nervous Nelly say? Schmidt demanded, straightening his uniform tie, determined to maintain sartorial standards, even in the face of mass annihilation. Klouse looked utterly defeated. He said, "The Red Army is everywhere. Tell High Command the holiday rota is officially canceled." The sheer impertinence of it stunned Schmidt. A holiday rota cancellation. In the middle of an administrative crisis. Then, another, more personal horror crystallized in his mind. The realization struck him with the force of an unarmored truck hitting an anti-tank ditch. "Klouse," Schmidt whispered, his voice cracking. "The Maskirovka, the deception." It was not merely about camouflage. It was a magnificent, world-class troll job. They let us move everything south. They let us feel safe. They reinforced the lie. He pounded his fist on his desk, uncaring that he was now interrupting the flow of an artillery barrage. And the partisans, Klouse, they weren't just disrupting the supply lines. They were softening us up. They were humiliating us. That coffee machine. It wasn't vandalism. It was a declaration of strategic intent. Just then, a private rushed into the office, his helmet askew, his face pale green. Colonel Sir, enemy armor spotted less than 5 kilometers east. They've circumvented the Fourth Army. They're moving with impossible speed. Schmidt grabbed the private by the collar. Did they say who they were? Did they identify themselves? A scout unit, sir. They broadcast a message on an open frequency. It was a single man, a Soviet general, I think. Very loud. He had a strong, unsettling laugh. What did he say? Schmidt demanded, desperate to put a name and rank to this appalling breach of professional courtesy. The private stammered, terrified. He said, "We are here for the surrender, and we would appreciate it if the logistics officer would return the Italian coffee grinder. We know who has it." Colonel Schmidt, head of logistics, looked at the smashed portrait of his superior, at the useless maps, and at his shattered administrative period. He finally understood. This was not a battle. It was a liquidation. And the true enemy was not the tank, but the total, calculated absence of foresight. Outside, the first wave of Soviet T-34s, followed by wave after relentless wave of infantry, rolled forward, erasing German Army Group Center from the map in a cataclysm of fire and fury. Schmidt stood amidst the chaos, suddenly gripped by a terrible, clear-headed realization of the sheer scale of his administrative oversight. He had one final duty, one last attempt at bureaucratic control. Major Klouse, he roared over the din of the rapidly approaching destruction. "Get me the paper. I need to draft an urgent memo to High Command, detailing the catastrophic failure of the Quartermaster Corps to secure the high-value administrative apparatus. Start with subject, the unacceptable loss of the brass-fitted grinder. An inquiry. The quietest day of the war was officially over.